This is the Handii Go 10 tablet PC. This is also the first time we've actually heard of this company, but this is a proper tablet PC running on Windows. Now let's talk a little bit about the hardware. The best way to actually describe and kind of understand the hardware is that it's a netbook, but without a keyboard and with a touchscreen. Alright, once you got that, you pretty much know what the rest of this machine is all about. Okay, so let me just explain. This is actually a 10-inch display and with a resolution of 1024 by 600. That's pretty much the same resolution you'll find on almost every other netbook on the market today. Okay, and of course this machine also comes with a 1.3 megapixel webcam as well as a microphone. Now the great thing is that they've actually indicated where the microphone is, so that at least instead of hidden somewhere, you know where to actually talk to. But of course, almost every notebook today actually comes with a webcam and a microphone. 1.3 megapixels, by the way. Yeah. And then another thing that makes this very netbook-ish is that it has the same number of ports in the same positions as well. So you will see right here you have two USB ports, one universal SD card slot. You have the third USB port right here, just like at any other netbook. You have your VGA ports, Ethernet, and a microphone, headphone jack, the power, and all that kind of stuff, and even the heatsink. And of course, this has the addition of a stylus, which I will talk a little bit more about later. Okay. And if you take a look at the back, it's also pretty much like a normal netbook. It's got a replaceable battery, okay, and it's got a SIM card slot as well. So that one's pretty interesting. I'll talk a little bit about it later. And if you can see here, you can actually see the RAM, but you can't. It doesn't appear that it's easily user replaceable. But don't worry, the RAM is already maxed out at 2 gigabytes, so you wouldn't be able to get it above that anyway. So you wouldn't have to touch it in first place. Which brings to another point that this is being maxed out at 2 gigabytes is the same as any other netbook. Most netbooks cannot exceed 2 gigabytes of RAM anyway. Which brings to the specs of this machine. The Handii Go 10 is actually running on an Intel Atom processor. Surprisingly, it's running on the N270, which is the older generation of the processor. So that's 1.6 gigahertz. Alright, like I said, it's 2 gigabytes of RAM, the most amount of RAM you will ever find on a netbook. Alright, 160 gigabyte hard drive, not a solid state drive. Alright, the reason why that's kinda notable because it's a tablet. You are holding it on your hand all the time, so you might want to take note of that. It would have been a lot better if it's a solid state drive. I think it will last a bit longer. Okay, now because it's pretty much just like a netbook, there are some problems as a result of that. One thing is that you're gonna be holding it in your hand all the time, and because it's designed just like a netbook, if you take a look at the side, it looks like your typical notebook computer. If I didn't tell you that there's no screen on top, you wouldn't know. It's that it's kind of it's not flushed anymore. So when you put your hand there, you notice that there's a lot of straight pieces, and then there's kind of straight weird spaces in between for the air and all that. So it's not exactly the most comfortable to hold on to either side. Alright. And another thing is that there are no hardware buttons on this machine at all. A normal tablet PC would usually have several hardware buttons for rotating the display. Sometimes you will have a scroll wheel, sometimes you have the control, alternate, delete, and the escape key. But this one has nothing, no hardware buttons at all. Not even a hardware button for the Wi-Fi switch, which I thought is kind of a little strange. Alright, and I'll actually show you a little bit more later about why it's kind of necessary. Okay. And the last thing that I want to talk about in terms of the design of this machine is the paint that they used to paint this. It kind of feels a little bit like a blackboard. I wish that it was just a normal plastic, or if not, they go the other extreme, which is, put a rubber coating instead of this chalkboard thing. After a while, you wouldn't realize it anymore, but the first time you hold it, it feels a little bit strange. Before I forget, let me just show you the stylus. Alright, so the stylus is actually located in this silo over here, and it's not spring-loaded in any way, so what you gotta do is that you gotta put your fingernails here, and then you gotta really pull it out, and kind of pull it out like this, and it's basically a retractable stylus. It's a little small, but at least it doesn't feel uncomfortable on my hand at least. So once again, you gotta really go try it out yourself. So that is the hardware of the Handii Go 10. When it comes to software, however, Handii did the right thing to not introduce any of their own tablet software or modifications. the Handii Go 10 is actually powered by Windows 7 Home Premium, and out of the box, Windows 7 is actually designed for touchscreens. So, certain features that they introduce for touchscreens will be like the ability to do a right-clicking by just pressing and holding anywhere on the screen, and you will actually activate right-clicking. And the other one is the ability to switch between apps really easily thanks to the whole new user interface that Windows 7 brought. So you can actually click on this and it will show you a thumbnail of the applications, and you can quickly switch between applications just like that. And of course, when it comes to text input, Microsoft introduced the text input panel since Windows XP's Tablet PC edition 2003. So if you just click anywhere, this little box will appear and you just touch it, and you can either do handwriting recognition or the on-screen keyboard. You can't type with the on-screen keyboard really fast, so my favorite one is still using the handwriting recognition, which is actually surprisingly very accurate. So this is one of the things that I really love about the Windows XP, Windows Vista, and Windows 7's tablet PC features. So for example, I can write. There you go, and I can quickly write words inside there, and it's pretty accurate most of the time. Another feature in Windows that's very useful for mobile computers such as tablet PCs is the Windows Mobility Center, which you actually have to access through the Start menu. And through this, without Handii having to write any custom software, you will be able to do things such as rotating the screen, turning your Wi-Fi on and off, and things like that. So in this sense, it can kind of replace some of the more common hardware buttons that third-party companies usually have to create for the computer, which Handii did not have to do. So you can just hit the rotate button and you will be able to rotate the screen very easily. Unfortunately, Windows 7 treats a computer with a resistive screen and one with a capacitive screen very differently. Because this is actually a resistive screen, Windows 7 does not enable to actually use your finger to kind of scroll, the way that you do with your iPhone or most smartphones today. And it doesn't enlarge the scroll bars as well. These features are actually inside Windows 7 but will not actually happen unless it's the correct screen. And unfortunately, this is not the correct screen. So in order for you to scroll, you still need to pick up your stylus and pull the tiny scroll bar at the side of Windows and things like that. Especially when it comes to surfing the internet full screen, you cannot live without the stylus. You need to use the stylus. So, this is something that could be solved if the Handii Go 10 had actually built a scroll button into the tablet. But, because there's no physical buttons at all, like I mentioned earlier, this device isn't that touch friendly at all. Because you need to take out the stylus just to scroll through any website, which is necessary every single time. Like I mentioned earlier, the Handii Go 10 actually has a 3G model. So if you actually buy the 3G model, all you have to do is just put a 3G SIM card into the computer itself, and then just launch the wireless connectivity application and click on connect. And immediately you can just surf the internet anywhere. So that was the Handii Go 10 tablet PC. Now, the only wish I had was that, if Handii would actually replace the screen with a capacitive screen, so that Windows 7 can enable the multi-touch features and the scrolling with your fingers, or if they could add some hardware buttons to allow me to scroll through web pages and menus without having to take out the stylus. But apart from that, this is actually a very simple tablet PC. It will begin sale on this coming Thursday, the 11th of March 2010, at the Singapore IT show. And in fact, I got the price right here, which is, so they're going to be selling the 3G version, which is 899 Singapore dollars, and after the IT fair it will be 995, so take note of that. And there's another model which does not have 3G, just Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, 799 Singapore dollars and 895 Singapore dollars after the IT show. So if you actually want to get it, I would recommend you to go and get it during the IT show this coming weekend in Singapore. So that is it. This is the Handii Go 10. Now, if you actually want to email us, our email address is gear65@tech65.org. Alright, or you can also visit our website, which is also www.tech65.org. I am Daniel, and we will see you guys very soon for another episode of Gear65.